Welcome to DT Madness, Chronicles from the Third Life, episode 95, June 23rd, 2024. So glad you could make it. I hope when this intro music comes on that you do the shimmy shake too. It'll get into your shoulders. It's called swingy jazz. It uh, it started with Ryan Reynolds. Well, it started with Blake Lively. Her face was a clue on Jeopardy the other day. Jeopardy, man. The guy from Survivor that looks like Napoleon Dynamite is the champion right now. It's wild. Did you watch Survivor? Um, but Blake Lively was a clue in a category about famous smiles or something about smiling. And so I asked Sydney and Isaac, like, who was the other guy that was like Ryan Reynolds? Because I was able to connect Ryan Reynolds to Blake Lively. I'm not really sure how, but I was, and I know who Ryan Reynolds is. Like when we call up a picture of Ryan Reynolds, yes, I know that's who that is, and I even know that he's Deadpool, even though I haven't seen Deadpool. Um, kind of thought about going to see the Deadpool and Wolverine, but maybe not. Isaac says he doesn't think I would enjoy it, and so I might have to trust him on that one. But I'm like, but no, there's this other guy that I'm thinking about, and he is also with a girl that looks or is kind of like Blake Lively. So I'm looking it up, and they're all trying to figure out who it is, and I said, well, so I had to look up who is the girl that is kind of like Blake Lively, and it didn't lead me to where I needed to go, and really I'm trying to find out who this guy is anyway. And so I looked up, okay, popular white celebrities, because I got this guy's image in my mind, but I just couldn't figure it out. And I'm like, you know what? Maybe he's a house fixer guy. And so Sydney was able to pull up some people and show me some people that I knew. And I was like, no, it isn't them. But then she showed me a guy named Chip Gaines, and I was close. Like that was close. I'm like, no, it isn't him, but it kind of does look like that. And then I remembered a better way to search for this thing, and I says, okay, this guy, and I'm typing all this into Google, had a troubled relationship and talked about it on his podcast, which led to some other people as well, but it did lead me to Dax Shepard and thus Kristen Bell. Now I know Kristen Bell from Parks and Rec. She's an Eagletonian. But I still really am not sure if I've ever seen Dax Shepard in anything other than like being in pictures maybe with her. But whew, breathe easy. We got that mystery solved. Yeah. So man, I appreciate the folks who reached out to me last weekend. My first Father's Day without my dad being here with us. We're not always a real big celebrating days, made up days kind of people anyway. But still, and I got some really nice messages from some of you, and I wasn't sad. It wasn't a sad thing for me. It wasn't a sad thing for me. I don't know. Maybe it should have been, but I still miss my dad. I still wish I could call him up and tell him things, or hear a joke, something like that. But I mentioned last week that I'm not actually sure. I didn't go back and listen to the show from last week, but so I don't know how much I told you about jigsawing the deck. We had our backyard hose underneath the deck that's been there for 5 or 6 years now, and so typically we just crawl up under it. Man, I've stood up too fast before on the way out and like cracked my spine underneath the deck. I mean, it sits. It's a good 4 feet, 3.5 feet clearance, and so you can really scrunch through there like what's the guy's name, Schmiegel, um, and not really even have to get on your hands and knees, but still, I got tired of doing that, and so we just jigsawed a hole in the deck about yay big, and now you can just reach right down in there and turn the faucet on. Yeah, yes, spigot, right? Yes, I know, and I'm proud of you for knowing how to spell spigot. That is impressive. So you get the gold stars for that. 100 on your homework. But yeah, so we did all that, and I'm still pondering. There's a good one. I'm gonna have to add that one in, and you'll understand later why I'm taking a little break here to type in pondering. Okay, but I will we'll figure it out. And so, but my point here is about Father's Day and all that kind of stuff is that the sawdust that was created by jigsawing the deck, I swept it up, and I didn't really tell anybody. I think I mentioned it to whoever was in the house as I was leaving. That might probably was Sydney and Isaac, and um, so I swept it up into a little baggie, and I took it up to Pop's gravesite, and he's got his plaque there in the Boiling Springs Baptist Church Cemetery, right across the street from University Police, where he worked for 43 years before being let go unceremoniously by Gardner Webb. But that's not what we're talking about here. What we're talking about is that I took the sawdust up there and I just sprinkled it uh, onto the monument there. Um, and talked to him for a little bit, told him that the kids were doing great, you know, and because I know he would want to know that. Maybe he does. I don't know how that works, but just told him, I brought him some sawdust that I appreciate him letting me use the jigsaw and letting me watch him use the jigsaw all those years and even try it a couple of times. And um, I told my friend Will came over and sat on the porch with me the other day, and I told him I was like, I could almost hear him just saying like, "Well, I appreciate that," and that's it because he's was a man of few words often, but it was just it was a cool thing. It wasn't sad. I get sad. I will get waves of sadness, but anyway, I appreciate y'all reaching out to me on the Father's Day. I did go into the old shop looking for some of that stuff, and man, it's just a jumbled mess in there. Just piles of sawdust and scrap wood and what like all kinds of saws and tools and the prune juice will set you free card and old school Gardner Webb Bulldog things and yeah, some things I want to try to collect, and I'm sure my sister will want to get some of that stuff too. And I do. I hope that we can clean up that shop and still have it going because there's some things that I'm working on now. Like I'm going to try to repair some of the deck planks. Sarah just took off to the beach to go down to the beach with her family, and while she's gone, maybe she'll listen to this and know already. But I'm going to try to repair at least one of the deck planks that kind of bends up and is a tripping hazard. But what I need is a different screwdriver bit. And I have learned that it is called Torx, Torx, because I had to look it up. Star shaped screwdriver bit. And, but yeah, so, and I think that my dad had one. I got it. My mom brought the drill bit set over, and I think that I think I got the one that I need. Now, I do have a question, and I don't know if Matthew, you're listening on the way home from Texas or whatever, but my question is when I screw the new deck plank into is it a joist? I don't know, whatever board it goes into. I guess I need to go over to the side a little bit and not go straight down into the hole that was already there. See, basically, I am a carpenter. But yeah, I mean, so deck repair and things like that. And looking through there, I saw his old lathe where he used to turn these bowls and candlesticks and whatever. He would make these little angels that we've got. And yeah, yeah, some really cool stuff. And I got to thinking maybe I would be good at the lathe, but maybe Isaac would be good at the lathe. And so yeah, maybe this fall, once all the critters kind of die away, we can go in there and rearrange and maybe set it up, and maybe Isaac could get after building some stuff. But in my summertime has really begun now, and so I have this. I do create lists of things to do, and then I tend to finish them relatively early in the day. Like, I mean, I've it's 8:43 a.m. currently, and my list has been checked off pretty good. So a lot of times what I'll end up doing is just sitting on the front porch in our front porch swing. And so I did some arrangements. I went and I got some mulch. Like, I'm not a I'm not a leaf raker. I don't I don't rake the leaves. I got two massive pin oaks or water oaks. I don't know if they're different. That's different. But I got two massive ones in the front yard and one in the backyard. And so we have oak leaves that continuously fall through the fall and the winter and the early spring. The fall and the winter, you know what I mean? And then the early spring, the big giant pollen bombs fall off, and I blow those off the driveway, as you well know. And then, but the leaves in the yard, they decompose as nature would have it. And, when it comes time for spring, then we lawnmower them with my special little lawnmower, and then they get mulched in. And like now, you can't tell that there are any leaves in the yard, but like in the flower beds and stuff, they do collect there. And so there was just a layer of leaves, which probably provide some good nutrients because nature. But what I did is I went and got some mulch, and luckily they had a sale for Father's Day, and it was 3 bags for 10. So I got 6 of them, and then I put all the mulch down in that front flower bed, and I love the way it smells. It smells so good. And then I got some yard ornaments. Like, I had this turtle yard ornament that was in my house that somebody had given to me, maybe my mom. And so I put it on my table that sits on the front porch, and then the cross-legged praying frog that I got from Lowe's, because I'm a sucker for things like that I had in the foundation tower of stone, and that will probably revert back there, though maybe not. That's now in the front bed, and it's looking into the porch. So as you're sitting on the swing, you can see it. And I got a thing from the Amazon. It's a dragonfly. And my dad loved the book Brother to a Dragonfly by Will Campbell. It shaped his theology and his view on theology and life. He loved Brother to a Dragonfly. And like, the dragonfly has just become a symbol for us as a reminder, or and I don't know, I don't know, manifestation of my dad. That might be too much for some of you, but like, it, a dragonfly just tends to show up. It tends to show up. When my mom dropped my dad off for treatment one time, a dragonfly came and sat on the like her car window. And when my daughter Sydney was at the river, the creek with Mr. Good, as he takes them down every year before the AP exam and has them reflect, a dragonfly came and landed on Sydney's finger. I'm not kidding. Like, when I went outside on Father's Day after we got home from Wrightsville Beach, I went out on the deck, and like, the first thing that was a dragonfly. And look, I know that there are dragonflies. I know that there are dragonflies, and maybe we're choosing to, but whatever. You think what you want. I got a dragonfly thing that like is solar and it lights up. It's cool. I like it. And I got some flowers too. And I went to S&K and I got some flowers, and because I've got this petunia that I got from, I think Blaine gave it to me near the end of school, Blaine and Casey maybe, and it's purple. It's a purple petunia, which is perfect. It's a perfect purple petunia, and it sits on the table beside the turtle and beside the bowl that has the rocks and pebbles for the bucket of life, um, and also my patchouli holder. But yes, It's just beautiful, and it just has flowered out, and I love it. I love it so much. I'm a petunia guy, like solely now. I'm a petunia guy. Zinnias are zinnias are dead to me, and literally they are, because I had bought two zinnias to put in the front bed where I put the new mulch, and I don't know, man. Maybe I overwatered them. I guess I did. Like when I look things up and it says, yeah, this is what it looks like when you overwater them. So I guess I did. And that's too bad. But whatever those other two flowers are that I got, there's one that's yellow and one that's purple. They're not looking too good either. I bought some potting soil and I was going to put some of these in some new pots. But by the time I was even ready to do that, even just a couple of days, those, my plants were pitiful. They were. But not my petunia. My petunia is beautiful and it's very purple and I love it so much, because purple is one of my favorite colors. I just put the mulch out like just from my porch view. Like I didn't mulch the whole front bed, and so like it's probably off looking. If you drive by my house, the curb appeal isn't probably there, or whatever that means. But whatever, I'm not trying to sell my house. And all I really care about is what does it look like to me? What is my view? Is my view pleasing, as I sit on my front porch swing? And it certainly is, except for those stupid zinnias. So I got to throw those things out and go get me some more petunias. I don't know if they make different colors of petunias. I bet they do. Um, well, we went to Lowe's, and Sydney and I love to go to Lowe's, and we went looking for maybe some flowers, but we went looking for a garden hose, because the hose that's in the back, as I mentioned, that's under the deck that you can now reach down through the deck to turn on. It's pretty old and it's got some holes and it's been patched and it's been like re repaired many times. And so I was like, all right, well, let's just get a new hose, because that's the one she uses to water her sunflowers, which are getting to be about head high now, probably 5, 6 feet tall, and it shouldn't be long before they start blooming. Um, and so we went into Lowe's and we saw Lowe's, and like, man, it was like $60 or something like that for 100 feet hose. And so I'm like, well, let me check how much they are on Amazon. And I found one on Amazon for $30. And I don't know, it felt kind of mm, like I wasn't being true to Lowe's, because I was standing there in Lowe's in the like in the aisle, and I purchased the hose from Amazon. I don't know, maybe I should have gone outside at least. So I'm sorry, Lowe's, because we love you. And we went and we looked at deck boards and deck planks to see how much they were. We looked at refrigerators and stuff too. Our refrigerator is maybe a little suspect. It's definitely old. I mean, it's got to be 15-ish years, if not more, old. Um, Maybe 20. It's like the seal doesn't, mm, I don't know. It's like sometimes the seal doesn't fully connect. And so maybe it isn't cooling. I don't know. It may be that we just have too much stuff crammed in there. But either way, we went looking for refrigerators, and those junks were expensive. And too many of them were too short. And I don't know, maybe I'll go with a silver one. But we were looking through Lowe's and doing all that kind of stuff, and we had us a good time. Didn't even buy anything there because I bought it from Amazon. Before that, we had gone to Bath and Body Works because it's like the 75% off 3 wick candle sale weekend. And so we went over there, and we just like to smell them, and me and like especially Sydney are very sensitive with smells, and so we really have a tough time agreeing on what things we want to smell. Like I can go outside. Oh man, that raggedy gardenia bush that I mentioned, it's got like 20 blooms on it right now. So I did some good pruning on that thing. That's for sure. I'm a gardener. And but we so I wish you could have seen this, because we went to Hannah's coffee shop first and got lattes, and mine was large, so I had triple shot. And I can't, if I get cold drinks, especially that taste good, like I got the caramello thing or whatever, I can't drink it slow. Like I just can't. It tastes so good that I want to constantly be tasting it. And so I just down these 3 shots of espresso in this latte. And I mean, I'm hyped. And we're in Bath and Body Works, and we're just smelling all the candles to see if we can smell them. And most of the time we're just like, oh, I have this scent that I say it smells like is Mama's bathroom, and I'm talking about my mama, from back in the early '90s, and I can still see it's like blue tile, but there's just this scent, and I don't want it. Like I don't want that in my house. This Mama's bathroom smell, and almost all the candles have that one. But I just busted out laughing at one point because we're in there, and I'm serious. I bet we were sniffing. I don't know, 10 10 candles a minute. I mean, we were just going after it, and I was like, man, we look like addicts in here. We'd be good at it, and we got a good chuckle. But then we found one that was coconut, and we rolled with it, and it's pretty good. We burned it yesterday, and we ended up with a good one. Oh, anyway. Um, Other things that I really enjoy are philosophy and psychology. I've been reading a ton of novels, and I'm back into one, but I took a break and read philosopher Ken Wilber's new work called Finding Radical Wholeness. I think it wasn't a whole new set of ideas from him. He has what is called integral theory, which has four different quadrants in it, and I'm not going to take the time to talk about that here because I don't think it'd be difficult to explain over a podcast. But I love it. Like it fits the way I view things already, and certainly part of that is because I've read most of Wilbur, and so his work has shaped the way that I think, and I know that that's how it works because he's really smart and convincing. Um, but I've been reading. I devoured it. I read it in like 3 days, and I couldn't. It was just like having the conversation with him on my front porch while I was burning my patchouli out there. Although I guess it's really Nag Champa. Come to find out, Isaac really likes that smell. And so I told him next time it's just me and him here at the house, we're going to burn that junk inside. And but Sydney says, the smoke there gives her a headache, and Sarah says that the patchouli smell gives her PTSD because she lived in India for a year. And Isaac says that the Nag Champa smell or the patchouli smell gives him nostalgia. And we're like, nostalgia from what? And he's like, you don't know how my brain works. So, nostalgia. I found my punch plier that I had bought a year or so ago, and I needed it because my Birkenstocks sometimes get too loose and I have to punch a new hole. And what I used to do is take the suede out there into the yard and take a nail or a screw and like bang it in there. And that was difficult and not as easy as this punch plier, which boom, done in like 1 second. But yeah, but anyway, sorry for rambling. Philosophy and psychology, it's I just really enjoy it, and I like to think about those kinds of things. And Wilbur has some work or has inspired some work on education and integral theory in education that I'm going to be exploring. I've been using an app called Re-Listen. I've had it for a while, but I kind of went away from it. But Re-Listen has all kinds of music, all kinds of archived music. What I listen to is Grateful Dead and Fish on there. And so what I do each morning is look and see what shows were on this day. And I've been listening to, if they're early 70s or if there's any 70s shows from the Grateful Dead, I usually try to listen to most of those through the day. And then any recent Fish shows, I usually try to listen to those. I've been rolling through the 2019 catalog lately, and that's been pretty good. We traveled back down to Furman one day after the first day after tennis camp. Sydney and I drove down to Furman University, which their shirts all say "FU," and it's just amazing. I hope that she goes there so I can get one of those. But it we went on a tour there, and the day we went on a tour, it was a massive thunderstorm, and we still really loved it. And it's still at the top of the list. And so we just decided let's drive back down there so we can see it in the daytime because we didn't get to go to the lake and we didn't get to see the bell tower and we didn't get to see the athletic facilities and all that kind of stuff. And so we drove back down there and it really is just something. It's really something. Um, And so I don't know. We got Campbell coming up in a couple weeks. We're going to High Point and Duke and Davidson. And then after those visits, we'll begin to really get serious about where we're going. She's a Wofford scholar too. So, I mean, if Wofford throws a full ride, then, you know, obviously that's going to be in the mix. But um, Furman Paladins, baby. And it's located in Travelers Rest, which is a small college town just like Boiling Springs. I've been working with the mayor of Elon and reaching out to small college town mayors because we have some serious, like our small colleges do generate a lot of revenue and economic impact, but they also drain our resources, especially things like fire departments. Um, so yeah, anyway, working on that, and I'll tell you what I love is legal pads, and because I like to make lists, and so yeah, I know you were curious about that. Tennis camp was wonderful. Tennis camp was really good, and we did it from 8 to 10 a.m., which was early. But I'm going to tell you what, the 12 kids that came out, they came out every single day, and they were there on time every single day, and they didn't complain, at least over the top complain about how early it was. And we got lucky, especially the first 3 days, because it was cloudy and it was relatively cool. It was pre heat wave. Thursday got a little warm and Friday was warm, but not hot. Like it just was the first time the sun was out. But the kids worked hard. Todd Peeler, the coach, that's been the coach for the last little while, um, helped the kids with form and technique and theory and all that kind of stuff. And on the last day, we played some matches, and one of the kids was out sick, so I had to fill in, y'all. Like I got out there on the court and I won. I beat that 16-year-old girl 2-1, and I was hollering and grunting, and man, I was not as sore as I was thought I was going to be the next day. We won our doubles match too. I mean, so that was awesome. And so I'm really thinking about getting into tennis. Maybe just the doubles part. The running in singles is a little too much. Part of my role, or kind of what my role was at tennis camp, was kind of shagging balls. As the players would be going through their drills, I thought, it'd be good for me to take this thing called the hopper. It's just a cage with a handle, but the slots in the slats, the opening at the bottom of this cage is big enough to where you can squish it down on top of the tennis ball and it'll just pick it right up, so you don't have to bend over and get it. And so I would do that each morning as they were doing their beginning drills so that they could do the drills and then not have to worry about um, picking up all the balls too. Uh, Plus, what I realized is that I really did enjoy that. And I love the hopper because there was a just scattering of tennis balls all over the court. And then when I picked them up, they weren't there anymore. And I realized that me doing this thing with the hopper is just like blowing leaves or pollen bombs off my driveway. You know what I'm saying? It was like they were there and then they weren't. And I realized that I might have some issues with that and needing that type of order and that type of um, cleanliness and being the person that gets to do it. So I am working on writing. I'm working on diving into my shadows, as Ken Wilber would suggest, like not running away from the things that cause me stress and pain and all that kind of stuff, but actually dealing with them and having conversations even in second person and realizing ultimately that it's all a part of me, things like that. So I'm not going to talk about what those shadows are here, but I'm writing about those things. I had an experience at the post office. Part of writing is me sending things to my oldest son, Sam, and increasingly to other people. But the post office, man, the post office is kind of stressful. I went in and needed to mail a thing, and the lady was just real matter of fact and like robotic almost, not like ornery or nothing, but there were people behind me and like more people came in as I was going on, and I didn't exactly know what I was doing. Whew, yeah. But then they said they were gonna have it there by yesterday. I sent this thing to Sam, um, but it didn't get there on time because for whatever reason it went from here to Charlotte to Greensboro, and then it was going to go from Greensboro to Boone. And so maybe post office routes is something I need to look into. I've been thinking about potential as well, um, and this idea of growing up which is part of what Ken Wilber's talking about. He says that we all need to wake up, but that it's more than that. It's just that we should grow up as well, and um, wrestling with shadows, and learning our intelligences, and that there are more than one way to do things, and more than one way to believe about things, and all this kind of stuff. Um, and there is a great potential, and I never it's it I'm going to say I never realized that more than when watching the Olympics, but I think that's partly true. Like, I think that's a statement that I'll stick with, because the human potential, not just physically but mentally, the things that these athletes go through, um, in preparation, in training for years and years and years, the pain that they experience, but the way that their bodies form and perform, it really is just amazing. So we've been watching the Olympic trials, because we've been inside a lot with this heat wave here the last couple of days. Makes it tough to be even on the front porch. So trying to figure out some new plans. I started reading Edward Saltell. I cannot remember the author's name. It's a different last name. It was an Oprah pick in 2008, and the latest one, which I think is the prequel to Edgar Saltell, is the latest Oprah pick. Um, and Oprah doesn't let me down, of course, 'cause she's my girl. So I'm reading that one, and but you know what? Speaking of the heat wave, I got my electric bill, or it's the midway through. Duke Energy sends me like a, here's how much energy you're using, and here's what to expect when your bill comes out, kind of thing, and I appreciate that. But for the last 2 months, the leading energy consumer, the leading energy sucker in my house is the water heater. And I don't think that's supposed to be. I think cooling should be the number one. Like, but it hasn't been, and it makes me think, like, man, my refrigerator is old and my water heater is older than that. I don't think we've ever gotten a new water heater, and we've lived here for almost 21 years. So probably time for a new water heater. The water still gets hot. So it's like, should I get a new one that's going to cost me a whole bunch, but is going to save me in electric bills? Hmm, it's tough. I'll keep you up to date, as I know you'll be waiting. But I'm that guy now. I'm that guy. I've bumped up the thermostat to 78 through the day. We still drop it down at night, but not lower, but higher than we used to. The curtains are drawn all day, like it's dark in the house. I'm trying to save some dollars. I'm 46, man, 46 and a half, and I've turned into the old miserly guy. Turn that light off. Whatever. There's no fall fish tour this time. They announced that a couple of days ago, and that was kind of a bummer. But then Sarah told me that it was okay if she didn't go to Deer Creek, because she knows that I want to go to St. Louis, and I've been looking at maybe going to Denver to Dick's Sporting Good Arena, and oh man, I don't know. I love the planning part of it. I do. The planning part is fun, looking at flights potentially, or rental cars, or places to stay, and how would I drive from here to there, and what tickets are even available. Like, that whole part of it is really a huge part. But I would love to go to St. Louis. There's two shows there, and then Deer Creek, there's three shows where my guy David, happy 30th birthday to my guy, who is on his way from Oregon through Bozeman, heading to Indiana, and we're going to meet up at Deer Creek in just a month or so. But yeah, I do. I would love to go to five shows in a row, but because they would hardly play any of the same songs, and I would have to give myself the best chance to maybe catch that lizard. But anyway, some good news, man. Congratulations to those of you who let me know. Congratulations. I don't know if that's what's up, but I appreciate those of you who reached out and said that you wanted some stickers. They're on the way, and I look forward to seeing them when you get them. You can email me or let me know. Send me a picture of where you put your sticker. And maybe one of these days, if I ever get back on the social medias, I'll be able to post all those out there. There's another surprise giveaway that I have it written down here, but it hasn't actually occurred. There are more things than just stickers, and so some of you are in store for another surprise as well. Um, they're t-shirts. Okay, so really, there's only a couple that are coming out. I shouldn't get everybody's hopes up. The podcast has had a huge spike in downloads over this past month. Like lifetime over 2 years now has been about 3,700 total downloads. But in the past 30 days, there have been 470. And so I don't know what's up with that spike. Like in the last week, there's been 168. And so I don't know if we're catching on like wildfire. Somebody in the Philippines listened, somebody in the Netherlands listened, and also Germany. And so I guess we're going global. But no, I do appreciate y'all. My Wordle streak, to continue with the good news, is now half of max. I'm at 110. I had gotten to 220 and then hunch. Ugh, but I'm back to 110. I've had some close calls. But anyway, popular white celebs, pop, pondering, porch decorations, petunias, pitiful flowers, potting soil, punch flyers, philosophy, psychology, fish, planning for fish, legal pads, and no joke, I am sitting here drinking Peru coffee. So I guess DT Madness, episode 95, brought to you by the letter P. This has been a Church of Six production brought to you by the Bucket of Life, the Rope of Relationship, the Foundation Tower, the Wall of Belief, the Token of Hope, and the Magic Rock times one received and one given. Nothing divine is desperate, and in order to be, try to never seem. May all your circumstances serve to awaken compassion, and as you go, teach peace. Don't forget to believe, y'all, and be live. Grace and peace, my friends. Now, some of my favorite Grateful Dead CDs would have hidden tracks on them. And I thought about adding in some hidden content. Perhaps what my morning stretch yoga flow is for anybody interested in some good hip stretches and a good way to wake up. I don't know. Curious though, how many of you heard this part? Let me know. Peace.